Record here. So perfect. So excellent. Welcome everybody. We are very, very blessed today to not only hear that lovely message, but to also welcome again Hannah Burgess from Power of Patients to talk about how we can track our symptoms in a way that is meaningful so that we can communicate better to our providers, which as we're all just talking about in the last the last hour or so, that it's so important. And yes, Heather, you had some question there?
I did. Sorry, I'm only interrupting because, like I told you, I have to leave, but I really want to listen to the recording or watch the recording. And Hannah, the last time you guys presented, I really loved the information, but I had a little hard time processing because maybe the speech was too fast for me. So I was wondering if there's a way to slow down a little because I'm really interested in the program. And so I'm not going to be here, but I definitely want to watch the recording. And I know there's a few other people that maybe that applies to also. I don't know if that would bother anybody if she slows her speech down, but yes. Am I asking politely? So
fine with me.
And then I did have one question from the last presentation. Is there, if we can't figure out how to answer a question, is there someone we can actually like talk to? Like this question's too hard for me. Like, I don't know if I had this symptom or whatever. Is there someone we can call or chat to?
Yeah, so kind of.
But you can answer that later. Okay. You can answer it later in your presentation, but that was my one question from the last time.
Okay. Yeah, we've implemented something along the lines of that will be helpful, and I'll mention it as we go today.
Okay, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Hannah, for coming. And thanks, Daniel and everybody. I'll see you next time. Thanks for the support.
Thank Love you, Heather.
Especially for bringing up that sometimes speech is too fast for some of us.
Yes, it's hard to process.
Yeah. Bless your heart. Because there are some times when this guy talks a little too fast.
Yes. And also on the return. So it might seem like we're just looking at you, but really we're trying to think of what we want to say to you or ask you.
Understood.
We're not ignoring you. All right. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next week.
All right. Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Love you all.
All right. So as we were saying, we're very, very blessed to welcome Hannah Burgess to give a talk regarding this powerful symptom tracking tool, right? And so please join me, give a brain injury welcome to Hannah Burgess from Power of Patients.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint presentation to get us started. Let me just get it into presenter mode here. All right. Awesome. Thank you for the warm welcome. Again, I'm from Power of Patients, and I'm going to introduce myself along with what we do. And I'm also going to do a walkthrough of the tool that we have created, which will help. So that's going to come at the end. And if you have questions, you can ask them in the chat or just raise your hand and I'm happy to answer them as we go.
Can I ask how long is this presentation?
Like 10 minutes. 10 minutes of the slides, and then I'm going to walk through the actual demonstration of Sally itself.
I have to leave at 1:45 for about half an hour, but then I'm going to come back. So.
Okay. All right, so yes, my name is Hannah Burgess. I'm the public health coordinator at Power of Patients. So I work directly with a lot of support groups just like this one, introducing who we are and introducing myself. My story as to why I got involved with Power of Patients is that I was a Division I athlete. So I was a swimmer while I was in college. and I herniated a disc in my spine. However, it took almost a year to figure that out and to find the help that I needed to be able to get myself back into the pool. And while I don't struggle as much with chronic pain as I did before, I understand a little bit of where some of you might feel with talking to providers and caregivers and individuals within the healthcare system to feel heard about your injury. I went to Boston University to study my Master's of Public Health, which is where I got connected with Lynn, who is the CEO and founder of Power of Patients. My passions lie within equitable health and providing services to patients to make sure that they feel heard, and a number one priority in this space. What is Power of Patients? First and foremost, we are a brain injury advocacy organization that works towards empowering those with brain injuries. We've sort of branched out to include many other neurological changes. So we're working with stroke, autism, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, trying to get the entire array of individuals who experience struggles with their brain. Our goal is to decrease the gap in knowledge that exists within this space by reshaping and accelerating clinical trials so that individuals with brain injuries can learn about them, can participate in them, can provide feedback to clinical trial researchers and providers alike. I'm just going to take a quick second to look at the chat here. Just about the recording. Perfect. So how do we work towards reaching these goals? A few years ago, so in October 2020, we created Sally. Sally is a brain injury symptom and trigger tracking platform. It's an application in such that you can access it on your phone. However, it doesn't require downloading an actual application, which means that you can access it on any device as long as you have access to the internet. What Sally does is take these real world data inputted by patients and caregivers to create graphs and reports and trends that illustrate some of the recovery process of your symptoms all in one place. We take these patient reported outcomes completely de-identified, so we'd never be able to know that, say, if I were tracking, we can't find that it's me tracking. And we try to share this information with the brain injury space so that the right questions are being asked, so that the right research is being done in order to help individuals with brain injuries. Who is Sally for? Primarily, it's for patients. The goal is for individuals, survivors, to understand their own injury, making sure that it's completely customizable so they can make sure that Sally is working directly for them. We also allow caregivers to sign up for Sally and track on behalf of an individual with a brain injury. So in Lynn's case, and Lynn again is our founder, she had 2 daughters with brain injuries. And so she's able to have one single account that can track for both her daughters in one place and is able to separate the 2 information and keep it all local and easy to access. Sally is also for providers in the sense that once individuals have signed up for Sally, they are able to download these reports and directly share them with their provider so that care can be personalized. Before we even knew this, users were taking their reports to their healthcare providers saying, hey, my blurred vision has been crazy over the last 2 weeks. I'm wondering if you could direct me to the right kind of specialist for this symptom that I'm experiencing. And so we introduced a direct messaging with providers to help ease this process and give providers the evidence that sometimes they need in order to personalize the care that we need. Sally is also for researchers. So like I mentioned a little bit previously, is we take the data and we summarize it and present it to clinical researchers so that they can perform research surrounding the findings that we're seeing across our 900 brain injury survivors who are currently signed up for Sally. Sally is incredibly easy and quick to sign up for. We understand that sometimes screen time is a trigger for many brain injury survivors, and so we made sure that signing up can take between 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how much information you provide. And then a daily check-in takes a couple seconds. It's just clicking through, maybe typing in a few little sentences as you go. So within registration, we're going to ask a few questions about who you are. We're going to ask a few questions about your injury, so how it happened, some of the symptoms you experienced right at that moment. And then we're also going to ask questions about all of the symptoms and all of the triggers that you experience daily since the time of your injury.
Oh my God.
Here's a few examples of what the reports look like once you've started tracking within Sally. So this is what the dashboard view looks like once you log in, and I'll show that in a second. These are new ones that we're working on implementing. We get a lot of feedback from users saying, hey, I was wondering if you could present my information in a different way. So we've tried to do that by providing different graphics and summarizing different information. On the right-hand side, you can see a 30-day review. So everything in the past 30 days that the user has tracked, along with all of their journal entry notes that they've added in as well. We have also just built out a new stroke section of the registration. So if at the very beginning of the registration, you mentioned that you are a stroke survivor, the questions are going to be slightly different because obviously experiencing a stroke is different than experiencing a brain injury. And so we made sure that these questions match the experience that the individuals have had. We also launched this new image that connects symptoms that we experience to areas of the brain, just helping individuals to recognize where some of their symptoms might be coming from. As I alluded to earlier, we did introduce a secure direct messaging system. So once you log into your platform, you'll be able to see these few questions here on the left. You'll be able to invite a provider by typing in their email and sending them an invitation. That provider will then get an email saying, hey, you have a Sally user who's trying to connect with you. They'll register quickly by saying who they are, what kind of provider they are, and then you'll be able to message with your provider directly within the app. So completely secured. What this allows is that some extra communication between office visits. It also allows the provider to see your reports. So they're not able to track for you. However, they are able to see all of everything you've tracked within the last 30 days. So this can help to, again, make sure that the office time that we get, which is very short, is used appropriately to address the symptoms that you've been experiencing within the past 2 weeks or 30 days. What it really helps with is sometimes on the day that we have an office visit with any healthcare professional, we're feeling pretty good. And so the feedback that we give them is that you're on the up and up. However, maybe over the past 2 weeks, you actually weren't doing as well as you are today. And having these reports is going to give that evidence to your provider so that they can check back with how you were doing and not just about how you are in the 30 minutes that you're with them. So how important is your data? Many of the survivors that we speak with and work with mention that this is the first time ever that they have control over their own data. And why is that important? It's important because it's your perspective on how you're doing. It's a firsthand account of how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis. When we go into a doctor's office, the doctor is sitting there typing their notes, and most of the time we never get to see that. We never see what they wrote down as an assessment of how we're doing. This is flipped. This is directly from the source. You're able to reference your exact words and your exact feelings from previous days. As I've kind of spoken about as we've gone through this, as the reports do provide the hard evidence that we kind of wish we didn't need, but sometimes do need to show providers that we're struggling with a certain symptom and that this is how it's been impacting your day-to-day lives over the past 30 days. Again, just to reiterate, when Power of Patients, so employees just like myself, pull data for advancing clinical trial research, it is completely de-identified. So we follow all of the privacy laws and HIPAA compliance that is needed for a healthcare tool just like this. So our goal is to empower you. We want you to feel like you have control over your recovery. We really want to decrease the knowledge gap that exists within the brain injury space. And one of the ways that we try to do that is by a blog. So we have a blog on our website that is quick reads, really simplified so that it's understandable by anybody. And it brings to light new therapies, maybe an emerging clinical trial, things that are going on within this space so that you can feel up to date with everything that is emerging. We also offer webinar Wednesdays. In this new year, they're going to be, I think, quarterly, so maybe 4 times a year. And the purpose of these is to bring in specialists so that you can ask questions. So we actually had an individual from the CDC join us over the summer, and she shared about TBI surveillance and how that's done across the US. And just something that individuals might never get the chance to ask questions about that, but because she was there, they were able to ask questions about how those numbers are captured. So the next steps, if you think that maybe Sally could be something that's good for you, is to get registered. And then to sign up for our newsletter, because you'll be able to just keep in the know with everything that we've got going on. To answer, I can't remember her name, the individual who left, maybe Heather. She was asking if there's anybody that they can chat to if you're not sure how to answer one of those questions. I offer one-on-one virtual bookings. So you'll be able to sit with me for half an hour and actually walk through the registration process and ask those questions as you go. You'll be able to, if you're answering a question about that's asked during registration and you just want a clarification on it, I'm there and we're able to walk through it together. So that's something that we're offering now. And I'll put that link in the chat as well as send it to Daniel so he can forward it out afterwards. You can also email me. So anytime that maybe you're back in your account and you have another question about how to answer the daily trackings, shoot me an email. My email is always open and I'm consistently responding to survivors just like you. Are there any questions right now before I pull up actual Sally so we can see how it looks in real time?
Yes, excellent. So thank you very much, Hannah. Thank you. And so yeah. Awesome. And so couple of questions. So first is with Kenny brought it up. Is great. So it's probably just something that was missaid or anything. So a stroke is a brain injury. It's just different from a traumatic brain injury. Mm-hmm. And like we said, it's you could make an argument that any brain injury is traumatic, but specifically traumatic refers to a blunt force that either penetrates the skull or assaults the scalp. And so just to clarify that, Kenny, because I did hear that. So it's just, they're both brain injuries. Stroke is just a quote unquote non-traumatic brain injury, which is different from a traumatic brain injury in the sense that there is a mechanical force involved. And then second question is from Eric. And Eric, if you would like to ask the question.
Yeah, hi, Heather. I used Sally over the summer, but when the semester started, it just, I was doing 3 different brain injury apps, and my neurologist suggested I cut back. So I cut back on 2 of them and yours. If I start again at the end of the semester, will I need to re-register?
No. So your account will still be up and running, and you'll be able to pretty much start where you left off. The only thing that won't be still accessible is your previous tracking, because too much time has passed. So it's only visible 30 days. We do this just because our server doesn't have enough space to hold it. We're a small startup, so we're working on it. But yeah, all your symptoms are already in there. All your triggers will still be in there. And I'll show you what it looks like. It might look a little bit different than when you last logged in, just because we're consistently making changes.
Thank you.
But good point that you also bring up is, while I say daily tracking, because some individuals do check in daily, it doesn't need to be that way. Sally is meant to fit into your lifestyle. So if you need to put it on pause and focus on other things. And then when you feel comfortable being able to log in every day, then be comfortable and log in every day. So it is meant to ebb and flow with your day.
Thank you.
Of course. So I'm just going to pull up what Sally looks like in real time. So this is my test account that I've already made and already registered for. We have the ability to turn it into dark mode. So some individuals prefer a darker screen. So that is an option. This is the invite a healthcare provider. So you just click on that, you type in an email, and then it'll send them an email saying that they want to connect with you. Once you have connected with the user, with the healthcare provider, they'll appear here. So this account has 4 different healthcare providers connected. And so they all can see my information that I put in each day. If I want to send them a message, I just click here, type my message in, click send. When you have an unread message, so they've responded to you, you'll be able to see that you have unread messages, and I'll be able to click here and see all of my messages between my different providers. So it says their name, what the message was, and when it was sent. If it's unread, it does show up as like a light blue, and you'll be able to know to answer them that way. And you can respond by a received message by, again, just clicking here, clicking on the provider that you wish to respond to, and typing back to them. And then there we go. So the daily tracking is this piece below. You're able to set some goals for yourself. You can change these as frequently as you want to, and they can be anything you want. It's just a matter of typing in a little sentence. And then this is the daily tracking. So we ask how you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Today I'm feeling pretty good. And then once you've gone through the registration, we ask you to identify symptoms that you'd like to track. And so here are the symptoms that are going to show up. So one of the symptoms that I struggle with is not being able to find the right words to express anything, express how I'm feeling, to describe my day. And so today I was feeling not so great about that. I was kind of having a hard time finding the correct words. What Sally does is, depending on your previous day tracked, it will send you in a little alert that we've noticed a 10% increase since your last log. Please provide a note. So what this means is the last time that I tracked, I was doing a little bit better on this symptom. And so now they would like me to provide some sort of explanation as to why. And I could say, I missed my morning walk with a friend maybe that's why. And that's really anything that you want to type in there. If you have no idea why you're experiencing a change in the symptom, write that down. This is for you. It's for you to understand why you may be having an increase or a decrease in these symptoms. And so then you'll just click save, and it's going to go to your next symptom. So depression, I'm going to say that my depression was actually pretty good today. So just like it gave a notice about it being worse, it's also going to give you a notice that you're doing a little bit better. And then even if you're doing even better, it has an even nicer message. This is awesome. Tell me what you think you did to get even better. Sally also has a 30% increase. A 30% increase can be something that we should maybe think a little bit harder on to understand why we've seen such a difference in your last day tracked. We have a little message that you can click on that just kind of mentions maybe you should reach out to a provider and talk about this symptom, or if you already know exactly why it happened, then you can disregard that message. I'm just going to put them in the middle so that I don't have a message and I don't need to type in just for the sake of time. And then once you've cycled through all of your symptoms, Sally is going to ask you about your social determinants of health. That is the really fancy word to say triggers. So things that you experience daily that either improve or impact your recovery. So for some individuals, exercise is a good thing. For some, it makes everything worse. Same thing with caffeine, or if you remember to take your medication today. And then we have travel triggers. So did I go in the car? And then there was typical California traffic. So I experienced that today. I had to do a lot of paperwork. You're just going through everything that you experienced that day in order to recognize trends. And I'll show that in just a second. So then I save all of my information. And you'll be able to see my week in review. So this is the past 7 days. So you can see that at the beginning of the week, some of my symptoms were really bothering me. And then by the end of the week, I was kind of doing okay. And they rose a little bit here at the end of the week. So if you hover over top of them, you can see the note that you made. So it says, I missed my morning walk with my friend that we just typed in. And then it'll also list all of the triggers that you experienced that day. So for some individuals, you can recognize that on days where they had a lot of triggers, see how I have 7 here, my score increased. So on the days where I experienced a few less, I had a better day. It can also be opposite. It is entirely dependent on you and whether or not experiencing these daily things like exercise, going for a walk, or coffee, or maybe fresh air could be good or worsening for who you are and how you experience your symptoms. I'm going to quickly show the 30-day report. So it just shows all of the past 30 days. You can add and remove the symptoms. So if you only want to look at your depression scores over the past month, you're able to do that. If you want to see all of them together, you're also able to do that. And here is where you're able to download the PDFs. One of the recommendations that we say, just because we don't have the space to save more than 30 days, is to say export this every 30 days. A lot of people keep like a binder just so that they can access them in the future. Or if you want to just create a file on a folder on your computer desktop, you can do that too, however you want to. Just like a therapy dog who reminds you that they want to go out or go for a walk, Sally does send reminders. And so in the registration process, it does ask you about these, but you're also able to change them within Sally, sending you an email at 4 p.m. every day, not on Sundays, because I don't like to be on my computer on Sundays. If you want it to be every other day, it can do that. So just making sure that it's fitting into your lifestyle. Do we have any questions?
it seems like by the data you showed, this is meant to be used on a daily basis by patients. However, it is a lot of like forms to fill, a lot of questions. Can it also be used on a weekly basis? Would it still give someone an analysis, given that it's limited to 30 days?
Of course, great question. Yes, we kind of initially thought that you'd need to track all the time to be able to see your trends. And it turns out that you actually need a lot less data to see those differences. So we really want to emphasize that it's whenever you have the ability or chance to check in and you want to check in, that's when you check in. The other thing you can do is actually go back to previous days and track for days that you maybe missed. So if you wanted to check in every Sunday and then you remembered that on Wednesday you were at, I'm not sure, a concert and you remembered that you felt really horrible after, then you could go back and put that in as well. We also, we also only allow up to 10 symptoms to track to make sure that individuals are not overwhelmed by this experience. I would also say that many individuals who experience like neurofatigue focus on their 3 worst symptoms, start there. Once they've sort of got a grasp on how they're feeling with that and have gotten a grasp on how Sally works, then maybe they'll introduce one more symptom and do it slowly that way. And you can add more symptoms right here. And it'll ask you to add them, and you can also pause symptoms and add new ones.
Great. Other questions for our esteemed guest here?
I'm just putting in the chat our website, my email, and then I'm just gonna grab, I'm gonna stop sharing, and I'm gonna grab my direct booking link as well.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, thank you for that reminder. Yeah, so we're wondering, could we get the copy of the slides?
Yeah, sure, I can send that.
The presentation, perfect, thank you. And also, you know, thank you, Hannah. I agree with Kenny there. It's great. And then I was wondering for the information that you're saying that you de-identified with Lynn that you guys analyze in terms of moving forward clinical trials. Is there a process for applying for that?
Process for applying for?
I mean, like, should we be interested in working with, you know, Lynn? Because I know someone in our group, Jason, had reached out.
Yeah.
In regards to that. So, if that's a process, is that something that is that we able to reach out to you or Lynn?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so Jason, who some of you might be familiar with, he's an ambassador for Power of Patients, and so all of our ambassadors are brain injury survivors. And if you are interested in that, and we only meet once a month, and you just want to be involved, yeah, send us an email. You can send me or Lynn an email, and we are always welcoming individuals to be, what's the word I'm looking for? To be involved in any capacity that they want to.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I know that was kind of a question that people was looking to just get involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and also Michelle just shared their talk was great, talking about validation, acceptance, inclusion, and objectivity, right? And so just in the previous class right before the start of the group, we talked a lot about the antidote for anosognosia, right? And anosognosia being the lack of awareness of those deficits. And so that's really the power of this data, and being able to have that power to control and to enter in is part of raising the awareness, right?
Yeah.
Raising the awareness of what might be contributing to some of your symptoms.
Exactly. Really great point, Michelle. Thank you.
Yes, fantastic point. Yes.
Awesome.
Other questions?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Bruce.
Their phone number?
Phone number. Is there
we don't have a direct phone number. I'm not going to share my personal phone number unless we kind of build a relationship, but if we get to that point.
An email address, any way to contact your company.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. I put both our emails in the chat, and I'll send it to Daniel as well, and they are open at all times.
Perfect. Yes, Michelle, you had a question.
I wanted to explain what I meant about objectivity. When I was immersed in the worst of my symptoms, I was incapable of stepping outside of myself and observing how I might be behaving. So what this will do in tracking all those symptoms, that will give me and anybody else who's in the middle of this whole situation, the ability to see where they are and that you don't feel so trapped, you know?
That's a really lovely way to put that, for sure.
Awareness, for sure. That awareness piece.
Yeah.
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 Wonderful.
Other comments, questions, insights? Yes, Katie. Oh, and you're muted.
Hannah, thank you so much for this presentation. Thank you for speaking so slowly because it's so much information.
It is.
It's one thing to just kind of talk to each other, but and we've been doing this for 2 hours, stuff for 2 hours. So thank you so much for pacing yourself. You did that beautifully. And I know I had done this and started it. I'm thinking it's been a while. And I just know that at the time, I felt overwhelmed with it. And I'm not sure, but I'm thinking there were questions where if it asked about how I felt the previous day, or even the week before, or even the day before, I couldn't remember. Like, to me, I'm always like, oh, it was okay. And really it wasn't, because I don't. So is that still on there, or was it on there? Or
yeah, so during the registration process, it asks about any symptoms you've ever experienced. On the day-to-day tracking, it is just about today. You are able to track for yesterday or last Friday if you wanted to, but we don't ask that regularly. So you're just answering questions about today.
Okay, so to get started back into it again, you're available through email, making an appointment, and you'll be able to help us adjust to this and get it right. Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
definitely. And you should be able to just re-log in. If you have any issues with logging back in and getting set up again, let me know and we can figure that out too.
Well, thank you for all that you're doing, and Lynn and the whole group. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have one real quick last question based on what Bruce was asking, and this might just be a stretch, but just out of curiosity, would it be possible to schedule a call with you and then give you our number and then have you call us from a private line, I'm sure, but that sort of set up to help individuals who would rather have a phone call?
Yeah, definitely. And I will share my phone number once we chat first. But yes, I can do a Zoom link just like this, or I can do a phone call to walk through registration or questions.
Oh, okay, great. Awesome.
There is a one-on-one, meeting setup that you put in the chat earlier.
Yeah, so it just has my availability, and you can book a 30-minute phone or video call consultation.
I had one a privacy related question. I know you mentioned de-identification. From what I'm understanding, you guys do share data with third parties in a de-identified form, correct?
Yeah, so it's really just generalizations of 60% of our users, their number one symptom is neurofatigue. So that should be addressed. Or individuals who experience an injury and it was a fall, they experience this as their number one symptom. We actually did a little bit of inquiry about whether or not individuals felt as though the injury was at their fault or at the fault of someone else depending on what they typed in, and their symptoms were different. So that it's really just like general injury pathway trends across all of the users.
Okay, aggregates then.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Great. Oh, yeah. Yes, Pat, you had something there, Pat?